Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's facts. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best. I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Welcome back to another edition of the Last Round Boxing Podcast. Thank you again for joining us. And don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. Each episode every week, or every week that we put it out. I know it's been a couple weeks since we had our last one, but every episode that we put out is not only on Spotify and Stitcher and all those other podcasting platforms, but it's also on YouTube, youtube.com/at the Last Round Boxing Podcast. Please subscribe on there. Hit that subscribe button. It is free, does not cost you anything. Also like and subscribe. I know you guys hear that on every single podcast and every single video you guys watch on YouTube and all that, but it really does help the algorithm and it does help the reach of the show. So please help us out on that. Jumping straight back into it, fight reviews this past Saturday, the 16th of May, from the Keep Moat Stadium in Doncaster on DAZN. Did I say that right? Keep Moat Stadium.
Keep Moat Stadium.
Is it Doncaster or Doncaster? How do you say it?
No, you're right. Doncaster. It's the football stadium. That's where this event was.
Have we ever reviewed a fight from this location?
I think it was the first.
This is the first, isn't it?
From that stadium, yeah.
Out of all the years we've done these shows, I don't think I've ever said that venue on an episode.
First, right? Maybe last after that performance.
Oh, okay. I'm going to come back to that. On DAZN, Filip Hrgovic gets the third round TKO over David Allen, who took the ninth loss of his career. Allen's corner threw in the towel in round 3. What was your reaction to the conclusion of this fight, and what did you think going into the fight? Who was your pick?
Well, what was supposed to be a fairy tale hometown night for Dave Allen turned into a pretty brutal reality check, unfortunately. I think most of us, even me, obviously being a Brit living over here in California, thought that it was a very, very hard task going in against someone like Filip Hrgovic for Dave Allen, but there was always that sentiment of where, we always believe it when they talk about Dave Allen, like, well, this time round, he's going to train real hard. He's in the best shape of his life. He's got all these great attributes. And, people say, when his mind's on it and when he's in good shape, he's a really talented fighter. But, when he fought Makhmudov, he got severely beaten. And then in this one, he got to the point where he wasn't even throwing. He was kind of just going around the ring, ducking, diving, trying to avoid it. And then Hrgovic had him against the ropes. And, rightly so. Jamie Moore just jumped on the side and kind of didn't throw the towel, just kind of waved it in the air, and the referee saw it and called it off. And I think the thing that annoyed a lot of people I noticed on Twitter was how Eddie Hearn said it was a tall task and then said, but at least, Dave Allen's going to be able to buy a new house with this, that, and the other. And everyone was kind of posting on Twitter, like, what? So everyone knew all along he was going to lose, and we were all just kind of like doing a GoFundMe for Dave Allen's retirement house. But I think we all knew it was going to go that. I thought maybe we'd get a little bit of a better fight. Like maybe he'd go out on his shield and we'd get 6 or 7 rounds because it was super one-sided. And as nice as Dave Allen is, I think, a majority of the fans were kind of pissed at how one-sided it really was and how much of a waste of time might be a bit harsh, I guess. But something along those lines.
Who did you think? Who was your pick beforehand?
Hrgovic. Even with Dave Allen in the fights that he has won, I can only really think of a couple of times he's really wiped someone out with one punch. It's more accumulation. So I think, when he was, hitting Makhmudov, he never was able to put him away with some of the big overhand rights he was connecting with. So I don't think he's going to knock out Hrgovic, who is probably a better fighter than Makhmudov is. it's kind of weird that you lose to one and then you go and fight a better one.
Right.
And I get it, styles make fights, but, he couldn't beat Makhmudov, and then he goes and fights Hrgovic, who's a higher ranked opponent, and obviously doesn't do great against that. But this is a prime example of when people talk about being able to sell tickets and that gets you into the big fights. Look at him, like his fanfare and the amount of tickets that he can sell severely higher than his ability. And that's why, unfortunately, you had to stick him in there with somebody like that. And then obviously you get the other way around, guys who are super, super talented, but they don't sell tickets, and that's why they don't get picked up by promoters, and unfortunately they don't sell out stadiums. And you have these people on Twitter talking about, oh my God, like he's this good and that good, and he's going to sell out a stadium, but like, you need to be popular, dude. Just because you're very good at something doesn't mean people are going to watch you and spend their hard-earned money, especially in this economy.
No, absolutely. So Dave Allen, I feel he has 9 losses. He has 9 losses.
I mean, he's been in there, though. If you think about it, for someone like, he's been in there with Dillian White, Luis Ortiz, Tony Yoka, Makhmudov, Hrgovic. That's just a few to name off the top of my head.
Well, I don't know why I feel like Dave Allen, like, not just came on the scene, but just with you mentioning all those names right now, it just blows my mind, because it makes me think that, wow, he's been involved in a lot of big name fights by like bigger names. And I don't know. I guess I'm not correlating his record with the time he's been in boxing, but he's actually been around for a little bit.
Yeah, because he kind of hit the scene and he was doing like local shows, pretty much not making any money, just paying to go onto cards, winning. And then he went on to Matchroom as an opponent. But then he's kind of, the way that he kind of caught the fans' eye was when he went in and he weighed in and he put like some socks or something like in his pants, make it look like he had a big package essentially.
That's right.
And obviously that made the fans laugh. And then obviously that caught on. People saw the clip, and then obviously IFL TV, and he was obviously he downplays himself like a lot, which is kind of unusual in boxing, right? Most people are they have a big persona, and they probably make themselves harder and a lot more rambunctious than they really are. Whereas he downplays himself. He's kind of funny, witty, and he's kind of looks like you could kind of look at him, you think, kind of in the same shape as me. I could probably be a boxer.
Right.
He's kind of chubby, and when he gets in the ring, he's not like an Adonis like AJ. So you kind of you feel like he's one of your buddies. So that's kind of why he's managed to appeal to the fans.
Yeah, he's like a relatable everyday guy. Yeah. Especially over in the UK, right? Like, isn't that kind of how? Yeah, that's kind of the blueprint of like a Ricky Hatton, right?
Yeah, Ricky would obviously win and then blow up, and you could be in the bar and you can have a pint with Ricky Hatton. Whereas in this day and age, you ain't gonna have a pint with AJ. You ain't gonna walk into a bar and have a pint with Shohei Ohtani. That's just not gonna happen. Whereas with him, you can, and he's probably not surrounded by
security or anything.
Or anything like that, because everyone likes him. No one's gonna want to run up and punch him. So if you did that in this day and age, that would be so unusual, and that's probably kind of why people relate to Dave Allen.
So with this victory for Hrgovic, does it seem like he's going to be on a pathway to get a matchup with Talma? Should we expect that?
Yeah, that's what people seem to say. And I think with how robotic Hrgovic is, I think most of the time it takes him out.
You think so? I think that's I don't know. I guess I know Talma's shown like a lot of promise, and he's shown that he's like essentially got talent. I'm not saying he doesn't, but he's still only 21 years old, Yeah. And Hrgovic is tested. Like, he's been around enough to, I don't know. You think Talma would be the favorite in that fight?
It's kind of, he's slightly similar in terms of his footwork and bouncing around the target, moving from left to right, like around you, than Usyk. And I remember, like, when I was talking about Usyk was beating AJ, and I said it before the fight, like, when you're a heavyweight, that's just so goddamn unusual. You don't get that. But in this new breed of heavyweights, looking at Usyk, Atauma, and some of the other guys coming through, kind of like Tom Aspinall in the UFC, these big guys are now being able to move. They're actually, whereas before they were very robotic, backwards, forwards, throw 3 punches, tire out, kind of hug each other a little bit. For us as fans, that's coming out the window, and we're now getting these, super big, athletic heavyweights, which is going to be good. And I just don't know if Hrgovic is going to be used to that, because you could see him against Dave Allen. Didn't throw an awful lot of punches, really, very robotic, and you could kind of see the punches coming. He did throw a couple that were kind of like unorthodox, the way kind of looked like he was going to the head and then he'd go to the body and vice versa. Honestly, I think Atauma takes him out. I think he's just going to be too quick for him. We saw that when he got in there with, like, I don't know if Dillian Whyte was injured, but even then, like, he just couldn't deal with that speed.
Man, if Atauma can, because we've seen young fighters over the years, start early and early 20s and have a pretty long career and a pretty rewarding career. Should we put Moses Atauma in that category now, where at 21 years old and so far what we've seen of him, just kind of speculating obviously into the future, is he in 10 years from now when he's in his early 30s, can we say that he's going to be an accomplished fighter? Like Canelo, obviously. I'm not saying like Canelo. I'm not doing that direct comparison, but Canelo was, at least when he started getting a lot of fame and started getting a lot of attention, he was like in his early 20s here in the United States.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to be a world champion. But, unless someone comes out of the woodwork who, is super, super talented and, blows everybody away and, grabs all of the straps in the heavyweight division and no one's able to take them away from him. Because rumor is, I think that Dubois got the better of him in sparring, and but that's just a rumor,
Right.
Sparring is sparring, so you can get knocked down or knocked out in sparring. So we'll see when they eventually fight each other. But it looks like the Brits are going to be holding down this heavyweight division for quite a long time, because
there's not any U.S. guys on the horizon.
Well, the one they're going to talk about soon is probably Richard Torrez.
Mexican guy. I mean, he's obviously there around the sphere, but I don't think he's really made a mark yet. But he still has a chance. He has a chance. I mean, you can't really count him out yet. But for Hrgovic and Atauma, is this official in August 8th that they're supposed to clash together?
That's what they're saying, and obviously it looks like Hrgovic has been doing the rounds with, Matchroom and Queensbury, so I'm sure he's looking at a good paycheck as well, so, I'm sure a lot of people they're going to be wanting an extra zero when they see the performances that Talman's been putting in. He went in there with Dillian Whyte and made quick work of him, so I think if you're a heavyweight, you're like, yeah, if I'm going to fight him, you can stick in another zero on the end of that, so yeah. But it's good for us, though. It's good to see a new crop of these young, hungry lions coming through. Like I touched on, they're now athletic. They're not the big, fat heavyweights that we used to see in the late 90s, early 2000s, where they just used to gas out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember those. Also on the card, Michael Gomez Jr. gets the 6th-round TKO over Lee McGregor, who takes the 3rd loss of his career. McGregor was down in round 6, and his corner also threw in the towel in this round 6. So it was a night of throwing in the towel for corners, huh? Yeah,
good fight. I mean, Gomez was just absolutely wound up. And he even said at the end, he was actually terrified going into this fight.
That's crazy, man.
That's why he was so wound up and flipping tried to headbutt the people when he got into the ring. Like before they even started, before the bell had even rang. Apologized for it afterwards, and but it was a good fight. I thought Gomez was boxed really, really well, and I think McGregor unfortunately just has the same problem that I feel that he's always had. He just lacks pop. He's good, he's rangy, he switches his punches upstairs and downstairs really, really well. But when there's nothing behind them, you could see after a while Gomez was kind of like, hey, I'm just gonna stand inside the pocket and throw down with you, because I think the chances of him getting knocked out by McGregor were, super low. So, Gomez managed to go in there and, take him out, which is, even though McGregor's moved up in weight, unfortunately, he's never managed to really generate, much power, because when he first hit the scene, he had everything going for him there. I think he won the British, Commonwealth, European, all, fairly quickly. But then just that lack of power, I think, is something that unfortunately is going to deny him going up to that next level.
Right. No, that makes sense. Moving on. Also this past weekend from the Scope Arena in Norfolk, New Jersey on DAZN. Also on DAZN. DAZN, I mean, we recognized this a long time ago, right? They're taking over as a singular broadcaster pretty much. Keyshawn Davis gets the 12-round unanimous decision win and remains undefeated at 15-0 over Nahir Albright, who takes the third loss of his career. Davis won by scores of 118, 108 twice, and 117, 109. He was also deducted 2 points in round 7 for essentially doing some type of, if you want to call it like an MMA move, throwing Albright to the ground, picking him up, and kind of slamming him down, almost like a wrestling move, right? But before we actually talk about the fight, Davis actually missed weight, right? The day before the fight. How many pounds was it?
I think he was 0.2 over, and then eventually came back and made weight. But he's not selling himself to the fans, like he had that one where he, what's he done so far? Missed weight, had a fight, and then got suspended, and the fight was replaced into a no contest because he tested positive for marijuana. And then he had that when Albright beat his brother, him and his brothers then jumped him and beat him up behind stage.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Just what on earth is he doing? And then he misses weight, and then he got booed by the fans, and then he started like dancing in front of them, like kind of like goading them. You're like, dude, like what on earth are you doing? Like, and then the fight didn't sell out because of these antics, I guess. And I know somebody posted that it's not the best place to sell boxing tickets. It's never been like a real hotbed for boxing fans. But then at the same time, if the guy that's the main attraction is doing stuff like that, like if it's not a hotbed, and then he's also doing that on top of that, it just makes it twice as bad.
What city does Shakur Stevenson? Where's he from in Jersey?
Newark, New Jersey.
Because when he's done events there, when he's fought there, he's sold okay, right?
Yeah, he's done pretty good.
So I mean, I don't know how far Norfolk and Newark are from each other, but I mean, Shakur Stevenson has sold pretty well when he's fought over there. So yeah. I guess that's the most like recent memory reference point in regards to this. So if the fight didn't sell that well, it could be because of his antics and all that. I mean, who knows? But also, like Shakur Stevenson, even though he's not a household name, Stevenson is a bigger name than Davis. He is categories above it in terms of name recognition, at least from a boxing perspective. Davis, as I mentioned, was also deducted during the fight 2 points in round 7 for throwing Albright to the canvas, as I mentioned. So maybe a sense of frustration when he did that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Albright was kind of throwing, and then he would kind of hold constantly, which was probably the reason that, Davis got to the point of like, oh my God, like I'm just going to throw him to the floor, like out of frustration.
And he got 2 points deducted. That's a lot.
Yeah, no, exactly. He's just a frustrating watch, unfortunately. And that's Davis I'm talking about, because he is super, super talented, but then he just seems to have the wrong attitude. Like we touched on, like you're going to make so much more money by being talented and fan-friendly than you are like a Dave Allen. Dave Allen's not talented, but he's super fan-friendly. Right. He's making substantially more money than he probably should be, essentially just being an opponent, like a gatekeeper, maybe a push. Whereas Davis has all the talent in the world, but he just is rubbing the fans the wrong way. Like at the minute,
it's not tough.
You need to win over the casuals. Like, okay, you can get like your hardcore fans, but they're not the ones that the pay-per-views appeal to. They're not the ones that's going to fill these huge stadiums that I'm sure you want to fight in. So hopefully with time, like maybe he's like a Ryan, like maybe when he gets a little bit older, like Ryan Garcia, he's going to realize, where he needs to go. And Shakur, I guess. Shakur, like when he first hit the scene, he had that video going around where he was fighting in the, what was it, like a parking lot or something like that?
It looked like it, or like a gas station or something, yeah.
But now when you see him interviewed and he's on Harold Hawani, like he seems super calm, collected, like a lot better. So maybe he's just going through that little patch.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, hopefully, right? I mean, he's grown older since then and, just more mature. So he recognizes like, hey, and I'm sure people around him, I mean, Top Rank at the time was like, hey, people are going to see you're one of the best boxers in the world and you're going to have a lot of opportunities. Like, don't mess them up now. Like, which I'm assuming, I would feel like Top Rank has been around the block enough to talk to him like that, at least at that time. But I mean, we'll see how that progresses. But, like you said, he was on Joe Rogan, I think, which I'm sure Terrence Crawford helped coordinate because Terrence Crawford's been on there a couple times and I'm sure put his name out there to Joe Rogan to get him on there, which, doesn't hurt for publicity.
No, definitely not.
No, not at all. But Keyshawn Davis, I mean, 15-0. Is he? What do we think next for him?
The problem is he's with Top Rank. That's
no, right, but like they don't really have any they don't really have the. I mean, I know they have a DAZN deal, but like, I mean, it's not like they have the ESPN deal and all that and HBO. Like the time to, in terms of promotional politics and all that and other sides of the street, at this time, it's not like it's the weakest it's ever been in terms of that argument because all these promoters are essentially with one broadcaster, essentially DAZN, and DAZN does have the leverage and the authority to tell them like, hey, well, you guys are all on our platform, I mean, it happened with Showtime, it happened with HBO. So I know he's with Top Rank, but Top Rank doesn't really have the ability right now, I would think, to really flex the muscle to kind of keep him promotionally exclusive, right?
Right.
I mean, Dalton
I don't know. Smith, maybe WBC fights a matchroom fighter in Dalton Smith. The IBF is Richardson Hitchens.
I could see Hitchens and Davis going at it.
WBO is Shakur, but him and Davis are obviously friendly, so that's not gonna fly.
Or you never know. But I can see Hitchens. I can see a Hitchens fight maybe.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna be. Hitchens keeps getting injured, doesn't he? Or
no, I know,
people or whatever he's doing. So,
but like you said, him and Shakur, there's always a possibility there, even though they're friendly and they're friends. But there's still a possibility there. But I would, assuming Hitchens kind of stays healthy, I would say Hitchens is my pick. So Keyshawn Davis
the best Hitchens. One if he's looking for a title right now is probably like you said, Richardson Hitchens
or Smith
or Dalton Smith.
I mean, if he fights Dalton Smith, wouldn't he, at least for a bigger purse and a bigger crowd, wouldn't he have? Shouldn't he go to the UK?
Yeah, Smith's from Sheffield, and Sheffield's been
and he's a champion.
Yeah, I mean, he's the champion, and Sheffield's a boxing city. You've had previous champions out of there, so I think that would be the way to go.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun just because of the environment.
Yeah, both unbeaten. Dalton and Smith, 19-0.
Yeah. That'd be a fun fight. That'd be a fun fight.
I mean, I could see Eddie maybe doing it, giving Dalton Smith like a big payday back home. So yeah, why not?
Oh yeah. Also on this card, Brian Norman Jr. 29-1 gets the second round TKO over Josh Wagner, who takes the third loss of his career. Wagner is now 19-3. Wagner was down twice in round 2 before the fight was stopped in TKO fashion. What do you think about this fight?
Good to see Norman back. I like him. I like the fact that he's heavy-handed, doesn't waste too much time. Obviously, a bad performance last time out. A really bad performance, to be honest with you. I don't think anyone was, impressed with his performance. But you live and you learn. Hopefully he comes back and hopefully he can go away. Maybe have like another fight against someone in gatekeeper status, and then come back and you're only, probably 2 fights away from being the champion again. It's interesting division. So we'll see, I guess, where he'll go from here.
Brian Norman Jr., huh? He's the one that didn't his promoter, or didn't they respond to us once? Or didn't we do an episode once back in the day? Or not back in the day, but just in the past. I think we were talking about him fighting against somebody, and you went against him, and essentially whoever, I forgot who his opponent was, and we were talking about it, and then you picked the opponent. And didn't they respond to us on Twitter?
The one I can remember was Lamont Roach.
Was it? Oh, maybe it was Roach. No, but I thought didn't Norman respond to us? Or maybe we got a message or something.
Well, we've had a few over the years. Joe Gallagher.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we got something. I know there was something there. There was something going on there. But moving on, fight previews this upcoming Saturday, the 23rd of May. Possibly the first and last time I'm ever going to say this, from the Pyramids of Giza in the country of Egypt on DAZN pay-per-view. Oleksandr Usyk, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, goes up 24-0, goes up against Rico Verhoeven. How do I say his name?
I think you were right. Verhoeven, I believe.
Who is 1-0. One professional fight. And he has a victory going up against arguably the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world and the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, Oleksandr Usyk. Okay, first off, before we kind of break down the fight, do we know any details about the staging of this fight and how this is going to look on TV?
From what I know, I can't remember, Eddie or whoever I watched weeks back when they first announced this, I believe they're going to try to do it with the pyramids in the background. So I'm assuming.
I mean, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't think you can do it on top, right?
It's going to be, like you said, it's going to be a one-off, isn't it? But is it going to be hopefully it's the conditions and, the atmosphere and stuff like that don't, because look at the one they did in Times Square. Nearly all the fights were pretty bad, pretty lackluster. But hopefully this isn't, looking at the card so far, it's some decent fights. Some of them are a little bit one-sided, but at least you're probably going to get a knockout in those ones.
I mean, I get it. They have to put this on pay-per-view because of there's a lot of big names on here that expect bigger paydays, especially Usyk. He's obviously the big one. There's other ones that we'll touch on in a second, but I mean, the zone pay-per-view, I mean, Usyk's obviously the anchor here, heavyweight champion of the world, best heavyweight in the world, but are they hoping that people will tune in just because, the pyramids? That's interesting. That's like the casual viewer. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of people out there in terms of casual fans who really know this fight is happening at the Pyramids of Giza.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because normally when you do a crossover fight like Rico's doing, it would be bigger if it was a crossover star from the UFC. Unfortunately for him, especially in the UK and the US, people don't really know who he is. I kind of knew who he was because I'd heard of that he trained with Peter Fury.
And he's for people who don't know, Rico is a kickboxer.
Yeah, right? the best, world champion, heavyweight kickboxer. And but he used to train with Peter Fury and he'd spar with, his fighters and also Tom Aspinall and people like that. So I'd heard about him just being a fight nerd. So when he comes over, if it was hey, you're fighting Cain Velasquez,
right?
He's the former UFC heavyweight champion, it would sell more because everyone knows who the UFC is. Unfortunately for him, as good as Rico is in his, combat sport, it doesn't sell as much. Just the fact that they don't know who he is.
No, right. And the one fight he's had in professional boxing that is counted as a professional win was 12 years ago. And he was a last-minute substitution, right?
Yeah, he stepped in to face him with an 0-5 record. So
yeah, so it's like, I mean, how much? It's almost like you're writing like a comedy show, right? It's just like this guy he's fighting the best heavyweight in the world in the last decade. He's literally fighting not just the best heavyweight, but arguably the best fighter, like one of the best fighters of all time, in Oleksandr Usyk. And the details behind his one singular win in professional boxing came 12 years ago, and he was a last-minute substitution in that fight to fight a guy who had 5 losses and no wins. That's insane, man. That's insane. But I mean, like you said, like he had a legendary career in kickboxing, so I'm sure hardcore MMA fans and obviously hardcore kickboxing fans know his name, and DAZN and the associated promoters with this event are hoping that there might be a niche of fans or viewers who tune in because they want to see him. They're like, oh, I remember him. I was a big kickboxing fan, or they're big MMA fans or something like that. I mean, they're hoping, right? I mean, I don't think he's bringing in a ton of fanfare to this event, but I think they're hoping they get something out of it.
$69.99 if you don't have that. I can't remember what it's called now. The DAZN like platinum package.
It changes every year. I don't even know. Like I don't think we've ever even really talked about it since it like changed, because like it's so kind of confusing, and it's like
I looked at upgrading mine to it because obviously boxing nerd and we do the podcast, but I didn't see a way like of. I already have like, I don't know, the middle package.
Yeah.
To go to the top package, don't I get like some type of discount because I'm already a member? Like, I'm like, but I couldn't see a bit where they're like, oh, you're already like the middle member. You only have to upgrade by this much. And I was like, I'm not paying an extra $200 and something when I've already paid for the other package. Surely I should get some type of discount.
You would think, right?
But I couldn't see it when I looked at it. I'll have to maybe Google it or whatever and see if there's a way to upgrade that way. But yeah, but even $69.99 if you're just buying the pay-per-view yourself, you don't have the super duper package. So yeah, if you're I don't want to pay $69.99 to watch it because I know Usyk's going to win. Right. That's the expected outcome. You never know. You never know though. Also on this card, Hamzah Sheeraz, 22-0-1, goes up against Alem. Is it Begic? Yeah. Something like that. I apologize. I mispronounced it. Who's also undefeated, 29-0-1. These guys have the same exact record? Right. That's insane. This is for the vacant WBO Super Middleweight Championship of the world. What do you think about this matchup? I mean, 39 years old. Right. Okay, he's 29-0-1, one draw. Undefeated German, never fought outside of Central Europe as a pro. Right. That tells you everything you need to know, right? Unfortunately, yeah. I guess it's just their way for the Saudis to give Hamzah Sheeraz a world title because I think he's going to be the next guy that they're probably going to. Oh, yeah, they're behind him. Yeah, I think they're going to put their power behind him and push him forward. He's going to be the face of, boxing over in, Saudi Arabia and that type of the world. Good for him. A super good fighter. And I think he'll do well. If they put him as the face of Riyadh season, the face of Saudi boxing, he seems a super nice guy. You never hear anything crazy about him, behind closed doors, like he's out there doing drugs or drinking or doing anything crazy. So I think he'll be a good face for boxing in that part of the world. And I think he wins probably by knockout, middle rounds, just takes a few rounds to warm up and get the sand out of his eyes, and then, takes Begic out. When I first looked at it, dude, on BoxRec, and I saw the name pop up, I legit thought it was Alem Begic. Remember the little crazy guy? When I saw it today, I kind of thought the same thing. That's why I was like, oh, I put like a highlight. I highlighted his name just so I can focus on it because I almost said that. Yeah, I thought it was that little Croatian crazy guy that Maxim used to always use. Yeah. He was popping up for a while too. I was like, he's fighting for a world title, and then I looked at it again, and I was like, oh no, different name.
It's what do you call it? What's that word? Kind of, is it anagram or some? I don't know. There's like a word where it's like the words kind of look similar, but they're not.
Alem the Savage Babbage.
Yeah. I remember there was a long time that we talked about him because he kept fighting. Yeah. he had a decent little fan base.
Yeah, because he used to talk about himself in like third person.
Yeah,
the Savage, and
he was like the Rock. He was like the Rock. Yeah,
he fought Johnny Fisher, fought Tom Little,
Alem the Savage Babbage. That's right.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. That's right. We need more characters in boxing, man. Bring them back. Also on this card, Jack Catterall, 32-2, goes up against Shakram Gisiaf, 17-0. What do you think about this matchup?
Probably
Giyasov.
Yeah, Giyasov, probably the closest fight overall in terms of ability.
That's what I was thinking right now. Yeah.
It's very, in my opinion, they both got very like elusive, reactive kind of counter styles. So that could make for a little bit of a boring matchup to begin with both of them kind of like who's going to go first, who's going to go second, like because they're both used to kind of reacting off people. So that could make it a little bit slow to begin with. But I think after that, it could end up being, a good fight towards the end. Jack Catterall's been the Neely man so many times. And obviously this is like an eliminator. I think GSF might have him. And you just feel for Jack Catterall because of the time he got when he fought Josh Taylor, should have won, but they robbed him. And then ever since then, he gets to that last stage.
But he can't penetrate through.
No, he just can't. He just can't do it. And like he fought like Arnold Barboza, and he just stunk. Whether it was just an off day, or whether it was Barboza's style, like that wasn't the Jack Catterall we kind of got used to seeing. So, and I think he may also lose this one as well on points.
And Giyasov is a former Olympic silver medalist too, so he's got a lot of pedigree there.
Yeah, he was signed to Eddie for a bit, but then I don't know whether he just wasn't selling or what happened to him. He just kind of like disappeared. But he's one of those typical like Eastern European guys that you see a lot of like outward, Joe Diaz's gym out here, like super, super, super talented. But then like we were touching on and like we said about Dave Allen, like if you're not moving the needle in terms of generating money for the company, then they're not going to push you. Why would they put all that money behind you when you're not bringing anything in? And I think that's the problem a lot of these like Eastern Bloc fighters have.
No, absolutely. Rounding off the card, Frank Sanchez, heavyweight, 25-1, goes up against Richard Torrez Jr., 14-0. This is a very intriguing fight. This might be, Catterall Giyasov is interesting to me too, but this Frank Sanchez, Richard Torrez Jr. fight, this is a very, very intriguing fight to me.
So I don't see it going the 10 or the 12, whatever it's scheduled for.
Oh, no. Check, but this is a very interesting fight, man. Because how old is Sanchez?
Well, how old is he really, or how old is he get?
No, how old is he? Yeah, how old is he? Because Torres is a younger guy.
Let me check real quick.
Torres is an Olympian, right?
So he is 6'4", and he is. Oh God, he's one of the ones that doesn't have his name on there.
Of course,
date of birth on there.
Of course.
Frank Sanchez is supposedly born in 1992. So what's that? Make him 34.
34, and Torres is in his early 20s, right?
He's had a bit of a longer. He's 26.
Okay, mid-20s. This is a very interesting fight to me, man. Sanchez still trained with Canelo and Reynoso?
I believe so.
I mean, this is a very interesting fight to me, man. It is because they're both. Torres obviously he wants to win, but if he takes a loss, he still has years ahead of him to rebound. But whereas Sanchez, he's coming up to his mid-30s. He's 25-1, had more fights than Richard Torres. And Sanchez really hasn't had that significant win on his ledger, right? So I think that I think whoever wins this fight, especially if they win in notable fashion, is going to get a ton of attention on their career. I think. I just think so. What do you think? Sanchez or Torrez? Who takes it? Who are you leaning toward?
I think Torrez. I think that even though Frank Sanchez has been in there with probably the bigger names, he's been in there with like Efia Jagber, Caballel is the only blemish on his ledger. Then there's some like Junior Fast, Scott Alexander, Daniel Martz, people like that. But I think that Torrez, like we touched on before, like he's that newer generation of heavyweight where the guys are coming in like more in shape and they're actually a little bit more agile. And even though Torrez always seems to look small on TV, he is billed at 6'2". And Frank Sanchez always looks huge on TV, and he's 6 foot. They built him at 6'4".
Right.
So whether Torrez is 6'2", is more like a 5'11", 6 foot. We'll have to see. Like obviously when they face off against each other probably on Friday. But I think Torrez will take him out. I think Sanchez is going to be like a wily type of guy, but I think eventually Torrez will connect. I could even see Sanchez winning on points, and then Torrez just eventually gets in there and takes him out. But it's a big step up though for Torrez. We're looking.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, I look at Sanchez. How like where we see fighters who they might not be the favorite, but we look at their trainers. Like if they're being trained by like Robert Garcia, especially, and they're the B side or they're not the favorite, but we look at it more like, well, we know the type of training you're getting at that gym. So you're coming to fight. Do you look at Reynoso and Canelo's gym as the same for Frank Sanchez? If you think Torrez is the favorite in your eyes, does Sanchez have... I mean, obviously he has a shot. They both have a shot. But does Sanchez have any type of X factor because of his training or his trainer?
Yeah, I mean, I think you do give yourself like a little bit more, but then you've got to look at it. I think he may just be so used to it. And obviously, like I don't know, at times with some of the older like heavyweights, is he too old to really add anything to him from his camp, whereas Torrez is a little bit younger, fresh from, well, not super fresh, but he's just come from the amateurs. He's still 26. He can probably still add a lot of things. And I'm not too sure if he is still there, but I know that he was trained by his dad, but then they also did add Bomac into the mix as like an assistant coach. So, if he's going over there and he's immersing himself in with, Terence Crawford, Shakur Stevenson, and those guys, then I'm sure he'll be able to add so many things into his arsenal to make him a more well-rounded heavyweight, which is, if you've got more than a jab, a right hand, and a hook in the heavyweight division, you're doing pretty well. A lot of those guys really just survive on their natural ability, and then obviously those 2 or 3 punches that they throw. It's not like the smaller guys where you need to be like really, really skilled, and so we'll see. But I'm going to go Torrez by knockout. I think round 8.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. I don't know. I think I'm going to go Sanchez on this one. I think we're going to be split here. I'm telling you, it's an intriguing fight. I like this because I think there's a big step up for Torrez, but Sanchez also needs that win. But I'm very intrigued on this fight. This might be the fight I'm looking forward to the most. The Catterall Giasov one is actually very interesting too, but the Sanchez Torres one is probably on top of my list in terms of intrigue. Definitely interested in that one. News and notes section of this week's episode of the Last Round Boxing Podcast. Fabio Wardley has activated the rematch clause, which will see him face Daniel Dubois a secondary time. Dubois is 23-3 with 22 knockouts, and he beat Wardley, who is 21-1 with 19 knockouts by stoppage in round 11 in Manchester on May 9th to win the WBO heavyweight title, which was a couple days ago or a couple weeks ago. So Wardley didn't waste any time, right? He said, okay, I want a second go around. And does it end the same? What do you think? And the second time? Does Dubois have Wardley's number?
Maybe, because of Dubois was an amateur. Wardley obviously wasn't. And then it was a strange fight because Wardley obviously knocked down Dubois twice. And in your head, you would think, oh, wow, like Wardley must have been, piecing him up in those first few rounds. And then Dubois turned it around. But apart from the fact that he got knocked down, Dubois was probably winning nearly every single minute of the fight. Wardley just couldn't keep him off, and at times couldn't, read his jab. And then maybe he just took an awful lot of punishment. The amount of podcasts and papers and news articles about they should have stopped him in the 9th instead of the 11th, was it? But I get the reason why you have to take the rematch. It's kind of like, say, AJ, the fight that everyone knows, when he lost to Ruiz, when he lost to Usyk, you have to go to try to win your belts back, because if you don't take it, who's going to say they don't block you out?
Right.
And, I know obviously people are saying, well, he needs time to recover and this and that. They can set the fight, further away in the year or even the beginning of next year and fight then, and it gives him time to recover. But also, what happens if he goes away and fights someone else for such a smaller person? This is a heavyweight division, and then he loses, and then he never gets that chance to fight Dubois again. And at the end of the day, these guys also, they're not like AJ. They haven't made life-changing amounts of money yet, especially Wardley. Like this, why not?
You don't think Dubois made life-changing money yet?
To be fair, he probably has, because of what he fought AJ, 2 fights with Usyk.
I think Dubois is pretty sad.
Yeah,
I would think.
I would imagine he's somewhere between 5 to 10 million. But Wardley, that was probably his first huge purse, maybe his second. He probably got decent pay when he fought Joseph Parker, and then obviously now he actually had the WBO champion. So he probably got a good purse for that one, selling out Wembley. So I understand why he kind of has to take it, because he may disappear and never get that chance again. I know everyone's probably like, well, he could go away, fight a few people, improve, then come back, and he has a better chance. But
I mean, that's always a chance. There's always a possibility that happens.
Or Dubois fights Usyk for a third time. Usyk gets the strap, and then he goes to, Usyk just decides to fight who he wants, and you're 2, 3 years down the line, and you've never got the chance for a rematch or to win the world title back, because they're fighting Jake Paul and other random celebrities and stuff like that. So there's so many different things that can come into the mix where you don't end up getting your chance again at the title. And, he goes away and may come back a different guy. And what if he catches him early in the first round next time and smokes him? So
right.
We have said time after time after time, every time Wardley fights, he obviously goes away, listens to his coaches, and normally comes back looking better and better and better every time.
Yeah. No, exactly. Also, another piece of news, which this came out of left field to me. This was ridiculously surprising to me. Vasily Lomachenko is planning to end his retirement and return to boxing later this year, according to his manager, Egis Klimas, which was reported to ESPN this week. Klimas said, quote, "We are working on his comeback this fall. When Lomachenko does return, he will be a free agent as his contract with Top Rank expired on May 12th and will target the biggest and best fighters in the world." I mean, maybe this was a plan the entire time. We just talked about life-changing money. Lomachenko's obviously made life-changing money. He has. And maybe after, the Teofimo fight and, all that stuff, maybe he felt like, you know what? I don't want to fight anymore. And maybe I think the retirement was real, but then he wanted to come back. But maybe from a business perspective, he thought, well, I'm not going to say anything until my contract is up, because then, I'm kind of a free agent, and these other promoters and other broadcasters can kind of approach me, and I can make a bigger payday than typical. So if he was retired and there was already no association with Top Rank or any other promoter, and he's like, I just want to come back, I wouldn't be that surprised. But the fact that they're pointing out that his Top Rank deal will be completed and he will be a unrestricted free agent just makes me think like, okay, how long have you and your team been sitting on this and been planning this, right? I mean, what do you think?
No, 100%. Yeah, like you say, it's just coincides with his Top Rank contract, ending, and then you think to yourself, was the contract that bad, or what made him? You never really hear any rumbles from anywhere that he didn't like fighting for Top Rank. They've had him since he came out of the amateur program, and he did really, really well there. The names that have been bandied about on social media for his return is Emmanuel Navarrete in the fall, and then a huge showdown next year with Gervonta Tank Davis. If
Lomachenko can find, because obviously the 2010s or 2015, 2016, 17, 18, 19 and stuff like that, he was the guy. If he can find that magic again, being out of the ring for so long now. And I think he would, at least from the hardcore boxing fan, and maybe just beyond that, he would activate the fandom again for a certain sector of boxing. If he can kind of become the same guy that he used to be, I think it's good for the sport, man. He comes by, and like you said, like if him and Tank Davis, Tank Davis will be back. He will be back. But we keep talking about life-changing money. He's definitely made life-changing money, but but he doesn't seem like he's like overbought. But he'll be back eventually. When the money pot gets big enough, they always come back.
How about this? This person is nearly ran out of opponents. Like, I don't know, New Year's Eve or something like that, or New Year's Eve of 27. Vasily Lomachenko, Nanaue Nue.
Are they close in
122 and 130? Go up to
126?
Go 126, or they go up to 130. He comes up 8 pounds.
The fact that if Lomachenko goes to Japan,
yeah,
that's an event. That's an event. Mm. And the only thing you can hope for, the Inoue already sells over there, but the fact that Lomachenko goes over there, assuming people are still like, he still has a name recognition after being out a couple years, but especially if the fights prior to that fight, because you would have to build up to that fight, obviously, right? And if Lomachenko can fight maybe at least twice before and show like spurts, or maybe show he's like, oh, he's still dangerous. He's still a dangerous guy. He's still got it. Oof. Just imagine that. Lomachenko versus Inoue in Japan. Sign me up for that. Sign me up for that. Like, hopefully it would be competitive, but I'm telling you, man, Inoue's he's pound for pound, man. He's always been my pound for pound guy, at least on my personal list. I know it's subjective, but Inoue's been consistently active. He's went through these multiple weight classes since he started at 112?
Yeah, something ridiculous.
Kept going, and he's fought like the top guys. Obviously his promotional politics have been a little bit different, and he's like knocked everybody out most of the time.
Debuted at 108.
108, man. And didn't he fight the highest, wasn't it 126?
I think the highest he's fought so far.
Or was it 122?
122, I think. 118, 115. I thought he had one fight where he went up to 118 so far.
Oh, I thought for sure it was at least 122. Maybe they meet at 126.
No, 122. Yeah, 122.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's interesting, man. Lomachenko Inoue in Japan, Tokyo Dome. Man, sign me up for that.
Because if you think about it, and obviously he's coming back and he's going to be older, and not sure. Unfortunately, that the speed is one of the first things to go, and he obviously survived on speed and reflexes. And regular listeners to this show know I love Lomachenko, but he's got like even the Teofimo Lopez. If Teofimo was able to come back down, which is going to be a huge struggle. But
he'll never come back down.
Yeah. I think Inoue would be good. Gervonta Davis, Navarrete is the one that has been spitballing about on the internet. So I think the other guys are going to be too big now, aren't they? Shakur, Teofimo, Devin.
Yeah. I think they're too big. And Lomachenko
the division.
Yeah, Lomachenko's going to focus. I mean, assuming he still makes these lower weight classes.
And if we're talking about Inoue, why don't we throw Bam in there?
Yeah. I can see that. And I can see Robert Garcia be like, Bam will take it. Yeah, I could totally see that.
I'm
excited. I hope Lomachenko can have some type of a resurgence and make some of these big fights with these bigger names.
I would absolutely love those three just to do a round robin and fight each other.
I hope. But the thing is that can he find that resurgence, right? Because if he comes back in his first fight and he doesn't look as good and he barely edges it out, or even if he loses, people are going to be like, maybe. Yeah. Father Time catches up to everybody, and it obviously caught up to Loma, but he put in his time. He had the rewarding career and the adulation and all that. So yeah, I'm excited for that. But I was very surprised about that announcement, but I'm looking forward to him coming back and seeing how it all pans out. And then also the biggest star in the sport, arguably, I can say it for some people. Some people disagree with that. Canelo Alvarez is officially scheduled for a WBC super middleweight world title fight against Christian Mbilli that's set for September 12th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Canelo will be making his first appearance in the ring since a unanimous decision loss to Terrence Crawford 1 year ago. And he also says that he looks to get back to his winning ways and style. This will be a second time fighting in that area in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia. I'm sure Turkey, Al Sheikh, they're paying him a ton of money. I mean, he deserves it. And he's still a star, man. He's still a star. So, I mean, are we really surprised about this?
No, he still moves the needle more than me and you've said it so many times. He still moves the needle the most, and I don't think there's anyone remotely close. Like, we need somebody to come out of the woodwork and be that guy. And me and you were texting the other day. I saw Ryan Garcia's popped up on a lot of big podcasts recently doing, interviews about his life. And I saw that he's been on, is it called Kick, that new video platform with 6ix9ine or whatever. And he was talking about how he's in talks to fight Conor Benn later this year in Las Vegas. So, hopefully he can be the guy that takes over, Canelo, and, we don't lose those, Mexican fight days in May and September to the UFC.
Ryan Garcia is on the Tonight Show over here in the United States this week, too. We're recording this Monday evening today, May 18th. So it'll be released tonight and then probably reported tomorrow. But obviously, I think he's already posted about it, and he said that, I got a big announcement. He's going to reveal it on there. So I'm interested to see what that is. So if you're listening to this episode and you're like, how come they didn't talk about the Ryan announcement? We don't even know what it is yet. We don't. So actually, it might have been posted because we're in California time and he's in New York. So could have been on already. I'm not sure. You never know. Can you look it up while we're on here? Maybe we could touch on it really quick.
I typed it in. There's nothing come up.
Nothing?
Ryan Garcia suggests Conor Benn is next on September 12th. Ryan Garcia on Stephen A. Smith. I have the opportunity to become the face of boxing. Yeah, it's nothing yet.
Nothing?
Ryan Garcia, I lead this generation of young fighters. Ryan talks future plans as world champion.
I mean, he was on First Take.
Yeah, with Stephen A. Smith, right?
Like, what is it? The Conor Ben fight? Because he did mention it.
That's what
people did. But like, I just, it's interesting to me because it's like, I mean, we talked about this, I think, in one of the episodes a couple of weeks ago, but I don't know, maybe because, you know, these mainstream shows just like, oh yeah, we need a guest, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll schedule you, but it's like you're getting on all these big mainstream shows in the United States, so I'm wondering, it has to be, it has to be a significant announcement, right?
Yeah, you would imagine so, right? You know, normally when these guys do the rounds, it's because if there's a film coming out, they have a book coming out, they have an album coming out, and, you know, that's the reason that they're on all of these big shows. So, yeah, I'm assuming that he must be doing the tour, and then.
So he was on there he was wearing a tuxedo and he was carrying the WBC belt, because I found pictures that were released. He's wearing a tuxedo and he's carrying the WBC belt while he's being interviewed on there. There's official photos that were released. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I thought maybe we could find it just before we finish up here, but yeah, I don't see anything.
According to TalkSport, Ryan Garcia claims Conor Ben fight will fall on the same day as Canelo's return.
Maybe. I could see that. But Canelo, I think the last time he fought in Saudi Arabia, he requested that his fight be at night in the United States. So you're going to compete with that? Unless they can convince Canelo to fight earlier. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how that's going to work. But, you know, fighters, Ryan Garcia has said stuff in the past and doesn't pan out. But you never know. This could pan out. This could pan out for him. You know, the fact that he's getting mainstream press right now, it's like
something. My money would be on him to knock him out.
Yeah, I can see that.
Ryan knocks out Conor.
I think I've asked you this before, but if Ryan traveled to the UK for a Conor Ben fight, would that be a stadium fight?
Yeah.
In the UK?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Garcia is well known, isn't he, due to social media and obviously boxing.
People would show up, huh?
It would sell out.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm guessing maybe just the ticket prices and Vegas, the money that it would generate. You know, I'm sure there'd be a pot of money just given by, you know, T-Mobile and all of the hotels. Like, hey, come and do the fight here.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. Yeah, I definitely see that. Well, we appreciate you guys listening once again to this week's episode of the Last Round Boxing Podcast. I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, but please don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@thelast-round-boxing-podcast, or just search the Last Round Boxing Podcast on YouTube. Give us that free subscription. Just hit that button. It's free. Comment, like, as I mentioned, everybody's a slave to the algorithm in every digital world here, especially YouTube, with YouTube being such a big platform. Help us out on there. Also, Spotify, another big platform. Hit that follow button. Check us out. And then obviously Stitcher and all those other ones have their own respective buttons of subscriptions, follows, and likes. Please hit those buttons. But before we sign off, once again, Mike, go ahead and let them know where they can find us and follow us.
At The Last Round 12 on Instagram and Twitter. And be sure to join us next week. And in the following weeks, we should have some guests scheduled. I've already spoken to and they've agreed to come on. So coming up towards summer, there's not too many fights due to the World Cup and that coming. So we'll try and fill it with guests.
We will try. We will try for your entertainment and pleasure. So for once again, for my co-host, Michael Shepard, I'm Danny Z. This is The Last Round.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is the Last Round Podcast.